We're in Charleston, West Virginia for a pretrial hearing.
Henry T. Eldon. Henry T. Eldon. Henry T. Eldon.
Henry T. Eldon is in the courtroom, but he is refusing the magistrate's order to come forward to the defendant's table.
I have called him thrice. I have no response. Get up here in this seat right now.
That's right, the judge called him thrice. Eldon is facing multiple charges, including fraudulent official proceedings and fraudulent service of indebtedness related to falsely filing claims with the court. Today, he's joined in the courtroom by a friend who's recording the proceedings on his cell phone and getting involved himself.
I'm a witness, okay? Okay, what I'm saying is, he is present, and he's chosen not to step up there. He's asking not for an appointed lawyer. He doesn't need an attorney.
So you're acting in the capacity of
I'm not
lawyer?
acting. I'm a witness. This is American National.
American National.
American National is another nod to the sovereign citizen movement that both he and the defendant identify with. Eventually, Eldon does respond to the magistrate, Ward Harshbarger, but still refuses to come forward.
The court reporter has to be established before anything can proceed.
Well, okay, well, get up in your seat now, and we will wait for that. We have some preliminary thing.
We're all waiting for the court reporter to be...
Do it now. All right, this is State versus Henry T. Eldon Jr. Mr. Eldon, I need to have a seat at the defendant's table.
For the record, I'm a witness.
Shut up and sit down. You sit down and not say another word.
Seemingly getting more aggravated, the magistrate turns to his courtroom deputy for assistance.
Would you get Mr. Eldon? Let me show you where the seat is, please.
May I have permission?
You may have a seat right there.
I'm happy with
You may have a seat right there.
Eldon finally gets up to the stand before the judge, but it won't be for long.
You are going to be held in contempt.
All right, Mr. Eldon, can you just stand up for me, please? Turn around and place your hands behind your back, if you would.
And who are you? And do you have a warrant, a signed warrant?
I do not have a warrant. I've just been made aware by the judge that he wants me to take you into custody for obstructing judicial process, okay?
But before the magistrate had the defendant arrested and cuffed, he pulls a final move out of every parent's playbook and counts to 3.
1. Have a seat. 2. Have a seat, please.
I would like to speak, and I have information to present. I don't know how I'm instructing.
Last warning.
You won't comply
Get in the
with what he's
seat
asking
and
you to
we'll
do.
proceed.
Again, locked in a stalemate, the magistrate decides to just get down to business.
How do you plead?
I would like to see your oath of office. I'd like to see your letter accepting and acknowledging your office. And I would like to see the same for the prosecuting attorney. And to know the names of everyone in this room. I need that before I understand what's going on, sir.
So the answer, and I will answer for him, is not guilty. Okay?
I haven't made any plea, nor should you make one
All
for
right.
me. I don't accept that.
Okay.
I don't accept
I don't care
anything that's
whether
happened
you
here today.
accept it or not,
I
Mr.
did not
Eldon.
in your own
You
position.
may escort him out. Court is adjourned.
The court wouldn't confirm the details, but according to Eldon, he did not appear for his next court hearing and was arrested on a bench warrant and served 2 weeks in jail. He also says the original fraudulent service and fraudulent official proceedings charges against him were later dropped. Next, we're at the Gallatin County Courthouse in Bozeman, Montana.
The defendant, Ernie Wayne Tertelgit, he is not represented by counsel here today.
52-year-old Ernie Tertelgit is charged with obstructing a peace officer and resisting arrest after he was caught fishing without a license. The hearing is just underway.
Mr. Tertelgit has been charged with 2 misdemeanor offenses, which we'll be trying today.
I must object. I am not the name that he is referring to. I am the living man. The name that Mr. Riley refers to, ma'am, is held by the state in all capital letters and is identified by the state on the state's driver's license, ma'am. I am not the all capital fiction. I am the living man whose mark is that of life.
Tertelget is representing himself today as the natural living man. It's his own interpretation of a sovereign citizen.
Mr. Tertelget, you are not to interrupt Mr. Riley again.
Who can tell the living man
Mr. Tertelget.
in a commercial event such as this,
Sir,
who has the right to tell the living man when he can speak and when he cannot speak, what sounds he can make and what sounds he cannot make?
you understand?
He is addressing British law, ma'am. He is a minister on behalf of Great Britain.
Great Britain? It seems this living man takes issue with the traditional British title of Esquire being used in an American courtroom.
I'm going to hold you in contempt if you continue to disrupt this.
Ma'am, why, please give me an honorable answer, is a British recognized esquire asking questions in an American courtroom? Why is title of nobility applied behind this gentleman's name that is recognized as being banned from our country in the 1789 Constitution? Is nobody going to stand for our Constitution?
Tertelget may not believe in courtroom formalities, but he does believe in interrupting. And Judge Wanda Drush has had enough.
Mr. Tertelget, you'll be taken up to a jury room where we may watch the proceedings. I have reminded you twice now.
If I give you recognition.
Bob, please stand up.
All right.
Stand up.
No,
Stand up.
pick me up. I cannot give you recognition. I'm constrained by the United States Constitution of 1789.
Before he's escorted out, Tertelget hurls a Yankee Doodle dandy of an insult at the prosecuting attorney.
Sir, you're a Bozeman native. What are you doing packing a British recognition? Should be ashamed of yourself.
Banned from participating, Tertelget can only watch the courtroom remotely, as his case is finally able to continue. The jury would eventually find him guilty, and although jail time is waived, he's ordered to pay more than $400 in fines.
Can't take away my rights, period, anyways. My rights are inalienable, sir.
Next, we're in Phoenix, Arizona, where Michael Crane, a self-identified sovereign citizen, has requested to change his plea from not guilty to guilty for just a few of the many charges hanging over his head. The 38-year-old's facing 3 counts of first-degree murder in a separate case for allegedly shooting 3 people to death inside their homes during 2 separate robberies. But today he's pleading guilty to lesser charges of burglary, theft, and weapons misconduct in 2 cases unrelated to the alleged murders.
Mr. Crane, it's my understanding that you wish to change your plea.
I've already told you that I'm willing to accept responsibility for all these charges. So that is what I'm telling you right now.
You're giving up your right to a jury trial where you'd be represented by a lawyer. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but I don't agree with that.
You're giving up your right to cross-examine or question any witness the state called. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but I don't agree with that.
To say Crane doesn't agree with the legal process is an understatement.
Do you understand that if you plead guilty, you're giving up constitutional rights?
Which U.S. are we talking? Are we talking about the federal constitution of the District of Columbia, that U.S. Constitution, or are we talking about the states of the Union common law constitution?
For nearly an hour, Crane spouts more sovereign law ideology.
I ask you again, are we working under admiralty law, under statutory jurisdiction? Let the record show that Mr. Crane is a sovereign man born in the states of the Union. My rights. If you're calling me a person or a domicile or an agent in the District of Columbia, sure, you can take away my rights, but I am neither of those.
Finally, he does enter a guilty plea, which, if you can remember, was the whole purpose of the hearing.
It's a choice to trial or a choice for me to accept your plea. Given that choice, which would you prefer?
The choice to accept the plea only under my conditions.
And just when it looks like the hearing was going to end, it doesn't.
I'm not going to sign a contract that's going to send me to prison, not voluntarily.
Crane argues he won't sign any legal paperwork to make his guilty plea official.
Are you saying that you have the authority to force me, a sovereign American man, that's going to send me to prison? Because this is what this comes down to at the end of the day.
Yes.
Wow, okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to hear.
Ultimately, Michael Crane would affirm his guilty plea for the charges of burglary, theft, and weapons misconduct. But before he's sentenced for those charges, Crane pleaded guilty to numerous other crimes, including the 3 counts of murder. That plea came as part of an agreement with the prosecution where they took the death penalty off the table. He was later sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms in prison. Next, we go to St. Joseph County, Michigan for a pretrial hearing. The defendant is Samuel Perdue, who also goes by the name Samir Siraj Maro Bey. He's charged with driving with a suspended license and contempt of court. The judge hearing the case over Zoom is Jeffrey Middleton.
There are currently 3 separate warrants for your arrest for failing to appear, but you're here now.
Perdue's troubles began a year earlier when he received his first charge of driving with a suspended license. About a month later, he picked up another violation. That's when he first appeared before the judge to enter a plea.
Mr. Perdue, you got another ticket for driving with a suspended license. Second offense, that's a misdemeanor punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. You're also charged with speeding. I'm assuming you're going to plead not guilty to both of those?
No, of course not. I'm innocent, and my name is not Mr. Perdue, so I would appreciate if you didn't call me Mr. Perdue.
Perdue considers himself a sovereign citizen, someone native to the land who is not beholden to all U.S. laws. Judge Middleton is familiar with this defense, but did not give Perdue much latitude.
Yeah, you're from some alternate universe where you don't have to obey the laws of the state.
No, you don't respect the law, sir. Your commercial mercenaries continue to pull me over, and they won't leave me alone.
Well, stop driving. At least stay out of the
I don't drive. I travel.
All right. Traveling is one thing. Driving is another. You can travel all you want.
They won't let me travel on my own land. You're violating the law, and you know it.
Well, one of us is. I'm just telling you, if you continue to keep driving on some cockamamie
I don't drive.
Sovereign citizens often try to make a distinction between driving and traveling.
You're behind the wheel of a car. Give me this BS about traveling versus driving. I'm just telling you right now, you heard it here. If you drive again in St. Joseph County and you get another ticket, I'm going to set a very high bond. You can sit in jail for 28 days until we sort this out.
So any judge who does not comply with this oath of office to the Constitution of the United States Act.
All right, I'm going to mute your microphone. I don't want to hear this crazy, nonsensical thing.
Middleton ended the proceedings and scheduled a pretrial hearing, which Perdue failed to attend. Now, 2 weeks later, Perdue's given a second chance, a second pretrial hearing. But by now, the judge is clearly annoyed with him, especially since Perdue has chosen to represent himself.
We scheduled a pretrial conference and you didn't show up. And there are currently 3 separate warrants for your arrest for failing to appear.
I think I was unaware.
We sent that to the address that you gave us. And if you're representing yourself, you need to act like you're representing yourself. We sent you duly notice to your address.
I don't live there anymore, and I can't represent myself. I am myself.
All right, well, you didn't tell me where you lived. You didn't show up for a pretrial while we prepare for this. And now you come rolling in with a hat on.
It's not a hat. It's my religious headdress. I'm a Moorish American national.
Yes, I recall. Do you have something you wish to present?
Well, I mailed in an affidavit to you, and this is also my legal notice for my lawful name change, because I put it on the record that I'm a Moorish American national, and I'm not a U.S. citizen, excuse me. I'm a man of the land. I'm native to the land. So a lot of these rules that the state of Michigan is creating is not applicable to me.
By now, the judge has heard enough and decides to do something about it.
I want you to take Mr. Perdue into custody. Okay. We're going to execute the 3 bench warrants that are currently out for his arrest for contempt. We'll take him to jail and we'll make an arrangement later to discuss.
Are you arresting me right now?
Right. Mr. Perdue, you're going to jail, St. Joe County Jail here in St. Joe County, and I'm going to hold on to you in lieu of 3 $1,000 bonds until we can review your contempt and the other things we need to deal with. But if you're going to represent yourself, you need to do it right. You don't just come in and say, I'm my own country, I'm going to do what I want. So you're going to jail.
After 4 days in jail, Perdue was released. He later took a plea deal from the prosecutor and pled no contest to allowing another to violate motor vehicle laws, an obscure statute in the Michigan Traffic Code. He was sentenced to the 4 days in jail with credit for time served, plus court fines and costs. Next, we go to a Zoom hearing in Detroit, Michigan. The defendant is Benita Seeley. She's been charged with 1 count of assault and battery. The judge hearing the case is Lanice Bryan. Seeley failed to appear at an earlier hearing, so a warrant was issued for her appearance today.
All right, ma'am, please unmute yourself.
After a few formalities, the judge makes a simple request of the defendant.
State your name for the record, please.
Islam, I self-law am master and proper persona, sojourners or heritage of the land.
Ma'am, I said state your name. I didn't.
I will state for this X-rail, this.
Ma'am, listen, let me say this to you.
This trade.
Seeley's attempting to use the sovereign citizen argument, which challenges the overall jurisdiction of the court. But Judge Bryant has heard this before, and she's not about to put up with it.
This trade name, no, this trade name.
If you didn't come to court to participate in court, please don't come back to my courtroom. So I've muted you, so therefore we can't even hear what you're saying.
With the undeniable power of the mute button, Judge Bryant begins a verbal dress down of the defendant.
If a person did not have jurisdiction over me, if I believed that a person, that an entity, I promise you, I would not get up out of my bed. I would not take a time off of work. I would not stop anything that I was doing for that day. So if you believe, Miss Seeley, from the bottom of your heart, that I nor this court has any jurisdiction over you, ma'am, don't come. You don't come.
Looks like defense attorney John Trummer's enjoying the judge's speech.
I would not stop anything that I was doing for that day. Apparently, you all don't believe that you're citizens. I don't really care what you believe.
Feeling like she's made her point, the judge returns to the case.
Okay, so we can try this one more time. If you want to state your name for the record, then you can state your name for the record. If you're going to say all of that other stuff to me that I don't have jurisdiction, then I'm going to go ahead and move on to another case.
And with that, the judge gives Seeley another chance.
Ma'am, please state your name for the record.
Benita Ayana Davis Seeley.
Thank you, Miss Seeley. How are we proceeding?
Innocent.
The court is going to enter a not guilty plea on behalf of Miss Seeley. I will set this matter for a pretrial conference.
If Seeley's case makes it to trial and she's found guilty, she could serve 90 days in jail.
Anything further, Miss Seeley?
Well, I would like to say something, but I see that I'm gonna just keep my peace.
All right, then you have a great day and stay safe.
You too.
Thank you.